Donald Trump Jr. and his wife, Vanessa, are divorcing. Vanessa Trump filed papers in Lower Manhattan today for an uncontested divorce.
Vanessa Trump has done what no other woman will even think of doing. She walked away from her modeling career. She forgave her husband after discovering his affair and told almost no one. She even raised 5 children largely on her own without a single public complaint. And just when it seemed she had finally rebuilt her life and found happiness again, life delivered its toughest challenge yet. So what happened to Vanessa Trump? And how did the woman who once seemed to have it all end up living one of the most heartbreaking stories in the Trump family? Let's rewind and find out. The price of becoming a Trump. Long before the headlines, before the Trump name, she was simply Vanessa K. Pergolizzi. Born in New York City in 1977, Vanessa grew up with her mother, Bonnie Hayden, who ran the modeling agency K Models. With her mother's connections, Vanessa eventually stepped into modeling herself. She signed with Wilhelmina Models, appeared at New York Fashion Week, and even made a small appearance in the 2003 film Something's Gotta Give. But as her career was taking off, fate had other plans. In 2003, while attending a New York fashion event, Vanessa was introduced to Donald Trump Jr. by Donald Trump. What started as a simple introduction soon turned into a relationship. A year later, Don Jr. proposed outside a jewelry store in New Jersey, where he famously received a $100,000 engagement ring as part of a promotional deal. Then, on November 12, 2005, the couple married at Mar-a-Lago in front of nearly 370 guests. Ivanka Trump served as a bridesmaid, Eric Trump stood beside his brother, and the lavish ceremony dominated entertainment headlines. From the outside, it looked like a fairy tale. A successful model had married into one of America's wealthiest and most recognizable families. It seemed like the beginning of a glamorous new life. But that glamorous life came with a cost. Because marrying into the Trump family didn't just give Vanessa a famous last name. It also pulled her into a world where privacy barely existed. Every family moment became public, and every mistake, or rumor, made national news. At first, she handled it all quietly, but as the years passed, the pressure only grew. And before long, the carefully built image began to fall apart. The betrayal. By 2011, Vanessa and Donald Jr. had 3 young children, Kai, Donald III, and Tristan. And from the outside, they looked like the picture-perfect family. But behind closed doors, another story was beginning. That same year, while filming Celebrity Apprentice, Donald Jr. met singer Aubrey O'Day. What started as a working relationship reportedly became something much more. According to multiple reports, Donald Jr. told O'Day that his marriage to Vanessa was already over. He allegedly claimed they were living separate lives and even spoke about building a future together. Meanwhile, back at home, Vanessa was raising their children, completely unaware of what was happening. The relationship reportedly continued for months. Then, in March 2012, Vanessa discovered emails between the two and exposed the whole affair. She even called Aubrey O'Day herself and confronted her directly. But what she did next surprised everyone. She didn't speak to reporters. She didn't make accusations in public. Instead, she chose to protect her family. Rather than walking away, Vanessa and Donald Jr. decided to give their marriage another chance. They reconciled, and in the years that followed, welcomed 2 more children, Spencer and Chloe, growing their family to 5. On the surface, it looked like they had moved on from that affair, and to everyone watching, the marriage seemed stronger than ever. But behind the smiling photographs and public appearances, a storm had already begun that would test their marriage like never before. Losing the life she built. As Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign gained momentum, Donald Jr.'s life changed almost overnight. He became one of his father's most visible supporters, traveling constantly, appearing on television, and spending more time on the campaign trail than at home. Then came the presidency. With it came investigations, nonstop media attention, and the Russia inquiry surrounding the 2016 Trump Tower meeting. The pressure only intensified, and according to Donald Trump, those years took a heavy toll on his son and his marriage. Vanessa and Donald Jr. had quietly begun living separate lives. Around that same time, Vanessa's father passed away. And just as she was recovering from that loss, something terrifying happened. In February 2018, a letter addressed to Donald Jr. arrived at their home containing an unidentified white powder. Vanessa was the one who opened it. As a precaution, she was rushed to the hospital while authorities tested the substance. Although the powder turned out to be harmless, the frightening incident came during an already difficult period for the family. Vanessa and Donald Jr. had quietly begun growing apart. By early March, reports of trouble in their marriage had started leaking to the press. And just a few weeks later, on March 15, 2018, Vanessa filed for an uncontested divorce in Manhattan Supreme Court after nearly 12 years of marriage. Because the filing was uncontested, there was no lengthy courtroom battle over custody or finances. The couple released a joint statement saying they had decided to go their separate ways, but would remain committed to raising their 5 children together. But for Vanessa, it wasn't just the end of her marriage. It was the end of the life she had spent years building. For more than a decade, Vanessa had stood beside one of America's most recognizable families. She had stepped away from her own career, stayed out of the spotlight, and focused on raising their children while the Trump name dominated headlines. But now, she had to start building her life once again. A second chance. In the following years, Vanessa stayed largely out of the public eye. She remained on good terms with Donald Jr., focusing on co-parenting their 5 children and giving them as normal a life as possible. Then, in 2024, rumors began to spread that she was spending time with golf legend Tiger Woods. At first, it didn't seem that surprising. Vanessa's daughter, Kai, and Tiger's son, Charlie, attended the same school, and the two families had crossed paths at youth golf tournaments for months. Then, on March 23, 2025, the rumors became reality. Tiger shared photos of the two of them on Instagram, writing, "Love is in the air." With just one post, he confirmed what everyone had been wondering. For the first time since her divorce, Vanessa looked genuinely happy again. It felt like she had finally turned the page. But less than a year later, another crisis struck. In March 2026, Tiger Woods was arrested following a car crash near his Florida home. Although he reportedly registered 0.00 on 2 breathalyzer tests, he refused a urine test and was later charged with DUI. The incident quickly became international news, forcing Woods to step away from professional golf while he sought treatment. Almost overnight, Vanessa found herself back in the middle of unwanted headlines. Reports claimed Donald Trump Jr. was unhappy that Woods had been around their children. Others suggested Vanessa herself had begun questioning the relationship, but as always, she refused to respond publicly. Instead, she let one simple social media post do all the talking, a photo of the two embracing with the caption, "Love you." Despite the rumors, they stayed together, but whatever sense of peace Vanessa had finally found didn't last for long, because an even greater challenge was already on its way. Her toughest battle yet. On May 20, 2026, Vanessa shared news that had nothing to do with politics, divorce, or the Trump family. This time, the battle was deeply personal. She revealed that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. Just days before making the announcement, she had already undergone surgery and was now beginning treatment. In her message, Vanessa thanked her doctors, her family, and especially her children for standing beside her. More than anything, she asked for one thing she had rarely been given throughout her adult life: privacy. And the response was immediate. Messages of support poured in from friends, family, and people across the country. Ivanka Trump publicly wished her strength and a full recovery, while her daughter Kai called her the strongest person she had ever known. Weeks later, Vanessa revealed she had spent nearly a month recovering from surgery and was preparing for the next stage of treatment. Through it all, she said she was leaning on the people closest to her, her children, her family, and Tiger Woods, who remained by her side during one of the most difficult moments of her life. Then, in July 2026, her daughter, Kai, shared the news everyone had been waiting to hear. When asked how her mother was doing, she simply smiled and said, "She's doing better." Vanessa endured years of public scrutiny. She quietly survived betrayal, a painful divorce, and constant headlines without ever telling her side of the story. Just when she finally seemed to find happiness again, life handed her another challenge. This time, one no amount of wealth, fame, or resilience could prevent. Yet through every setback, she responded the same way she always had, not with public fights, not with angry interviews, but with quiet strength. And perhaps that's what has defined Vanessa Trump more than anything else. So now, at 48, after all this, Vanessa is still recovering and still rebuilding her life. And perhaps most importantly, she's doing it all quietly, without seeking attention, sympathy, or the spotlight. So what do you think? Is Vanessa Trump simply the unluckiest woman in the Trump family, or is she actually the toughest one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating stories like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.